Are you looking to join Cycling Men of Leisure at one of our events this summer?
You know I am.
Well, then where are we going?
Here's what we're doing. We're going to start our ride season off at the very end of May, going through the first week of June at the Big Bragg. We're going across Georgia yet again. Always a good time. Then in July, we are hooking up in Indiana to do Rain. That is a one-day ride across Indiana, 165 miles. Should be a good time. And then we are going to go to the Bourbon Country Burn in September down in Kentucky. We're going to do some riding, and we're going to get to tour some great distilleries and do some tasting. So it's going to be a great time.
I'm really looking forward to all three. Now, I know that normally 160 plus miles does not sound leisurely, but it's one that's been on our bucket list, and we're going to knock it off this year. So if you're looking to join us, you can find us on our social media pages or go to bragg.org, bourbonCountryBurn.com, and rainride.org. So look for those, and we'd look forward to joining you.
Well, it's time for Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure, the podcast for cyclists who understand that riding is not just about getting to the destination, but the experience along the way. Now, here are the original Cycling Men of Leisure, Adam and Michael.
Welcome to Road Adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure. As usual, I am Adam, and I am once again happy to be joined with my good friend all the way across the country, virtually and happy, I hope, Mr. Michael Sharp.
I'm always happy, Adam. Welcome. How you doing?
Good.
I wouldn't say clear across the country.
Well, you're not here in my town.
We're like 2 states away. 3 states.
Yeah, 3 states. Yeah.
3 states.
Well,
anyway,
a time zone and 3 states.
Well,
hey, I've heard from our leisure community a little bit. So you care if I start with that?
Go ahead and start with that. What do we got?
Andrew Thrill wrote yourself and myself after we announced that we were going to rain. We're not going to make it rain. Matter of fact, we're probably going to be slow, but we are going to ride the Rain Ride, our third event for Cycling Men of Leisure. Although that doesn't seem very leisurely to ride 160 miles in one day. But
we're going to make it leisurely, though. That's going to be the beauty of it.
That's right. Andrew was curious if we'd ever done ODRAM, and then he said, oops, I didn't listen to the show long enough. He said, let me correct that. Could you tell me a little bit about ODRAM?
There we go.
And so I was able to go back to my Strava, look like my computer, which I know every computer is different, so it doesn't mean mine's right. I'm not that kind of guy that goes, mine's the only one that's right. You could have 3 people and have different elevation on each one of them.
We have had.
That's for sure. But my computer read 1,721 feet of climb. If no one's ever done ODRAM, you get all the elevation in the morning. It's almost like a peak, and then you come back down the rest of the day. It's all downhill after the half the day. But we were able to reach out to him. So, Andrew, if that's something you sign up for, myself and Michael and our friend Joe has done it 3 times. I mean, two times. I'm sorry.
2 times. Yep.
And then our friend Aaron, the Speedy Sloth. Look at Speedy Sloth's cycling photos. He joined us, and he killed it that day. Robert Engstrom wrote us about the Bragg jersey for this year. He asked if it was going to be the same as last year, and the answer is no. No, it's not.
Exactly.
Our first year that we had a team was like a maroon with pretty basic. And then last year we were able to get a designer who did an amazing job, and we are working behind the scenes to have another amazing jersey. So hopefully the team wraps up after. Hey, this show comes out after the team wraps up. Mm-hmm. That's okay.
We'll have final numbers. So
we'll have the final. That's right. But yes, to Robert and to all who are curious, it will be a different jersey. And with the men's team and the ladies team, we will uniform them, make them alike, but different for ladies, different for men. So, and our friend Jim Russell who we've ridden Bragg with many times.
Oh, yeah.
He asked if he can get his cross-country ride together, if we would be willing to interview him. And the answer is yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We would love to have you on. And he made a mention that he's between two teams. And so I hope he's selected Cycling Men of Leisure myself. So
it'd be nice. But you know what? He's doing the team thing. So that's cool.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what? This is a very small episode, although to be fair, once again, I am traveling across the country and the show is being recorded very early. So we hate doing that, but we also don't want to make all of our leisure community wait. And so because I'm lollygagging on a cruise ship, which we're going to get to a little bit later on in the show, because I have some questions for you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
All right. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I've got a couple of things.
Okay.
So let me start off with, see if this is going to work for me.
Right now I have an M in the center of my screen for everybody who is on YouTube. I'm assuming M stands for Michael, although I could think of a lot of funny M words.
Oh, there we go. Hey. Now, I'm going to turn this around. I don't know how good this is going to be.
Okay.
I can't switch to other cameras.
Ooh, look at that behind you.
But if we get it just right here for the people that are watching.
Wow.
This is the project that I've spoke of several times.
Nice.
I took the old closet that was here, ripped it all out, put framework behind it, put paneling up, and then set shelves.
Nice.
And I've got some of my decanters that I've collected. I've got some of my bar in here.
Nice.
And what I find even cooler is I've had room to display 3 of, what I would say are some of my most interesting jerseys. I've got our last year's Cycling Men of Leisure.
Yeah.
From Bragg there.
Yeah.
I got our old Team Sherpa jersey when we were putting like the stock quotes and things on them from Ragbri.
Yeah.
And then I've got Bourbon Country Burn. And if you'll notice up at the top, like right there, you see those ribbons. Those are the wristbands from every year that I participated in those rides.
Oh, that's cool. So the wristband on the Cycling Men of Leisure, are those Bragg wristbands?
Those are Bragg. These are Ragbri in the middle. And then I've got Bourbon Country Burn here. And then if you look right there where you see those 2 medals hanging down.
Those are the Odram medals.
Those are the Odram medals. So, and then I've just got boxes at the bottom that stores my other stuff. But that is what I've been working on. I finally got it all done. I've got lighting in there. So
nice. I
was very happy with it. So I thought, Benz, I talked about it a couple of times that I would let everybody see it.
Leave that screen up for a second. I'm going to share my Odram medal story. I know I've told it before, but I think it's worth retelling because that was told many moons ago, and depending on how far back people go on episodes. So in 2021, you and I completed Odram together, one of our adventures together. The next day, I was flying out, ironically, for a cruise with the beautiful Lauren, my wife, and I got back, and they not only give you a medal, but the T-shirt is also an item that they give you, or I bought. I don't want to lie. I don't know if they give you, but I had a T-shirt. How about that? And I said to my wife, and of course, marriage is always screaming what from the other room, right? I mean, upstairs, downstairs. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to wear this on the plane tomorrow. and she said, you're going to wear that on the plane tomorrow? And I said, yeah. I mean, it's 165 miles in one day. I'm proud of it. She said, yeah, but you're an adult. I mean, you don't need to be wearing that on the airplane.
I love it.
And I said, what are you talking about? And we have this like disagreement. Now we're going to take off that afternoon to literally go to the airport. And she says, I just can't believe you're going to wear that on the airplane. She's like, are you even going to be able to get through TSA on it with it? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I go, it's a T-shirt. And she said, I thought you were going to wear the medal on the airplane.
Oh my God. Hey, everyone, look at me.
That's right.
I could just see you walking through the airport.
Yeah.
Sporting this this medal right here. And I could even see you going, look, I rode ODRAM 165 miles.
So for those of you who are not on YouTube and not watching, it is in the shape of a hand. Of course, you've probably seen people
for Michigan,
reminisce Michigan as the hand, and then there's a line across of where the route was, and so it goes from Rothbury, Michigan, to Bay City. You stay at the Double J Ranch. You go. Our first year we didn't go out to out to Lake Michigan first, but then our second time we did go to Lake Michigan all the way to Bay City in one day. So. And a little side note, for those of you who know that I tout my DeBrim over and over and over, I have a confession. I hope you're sitting down. I hope...
You got rid of it. Yay, and the peasants rejoice.
No. I did get rid of it on that ride, and you know this already. We were about 145 miles in. The wind took it off my head. I was so exhausted. Michael said, "Are you going to go back for it?" I said, "Forget it. I don't care." And he's like, "You sure?" I said, "Forget it. Let's just keep going. I don't want to stop."
But and I was willing to go back with you, though. Let's put that in the story. Yes,
you were. You were absolutely. I mean, you were actually not only were you willing, you were trying to be supportive. Come on, man, go back and get it. You know you want it. I'm like, I'll just buy another one. I was so exhausted. And then all of a sudden we get to the end and we take our pictures and a guy comes up and goes, "Is this yours?" I was like, yes, it is. Mine. And since then, I would definitely go back for it now. But yes, I just wanted to share that story. Well, I like your presentation. That's nice.
You like
Look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really happy because there's 2 more shelves there that have like my books and stuff on it.
Yeah.
And I thought, what if I could take and frame a couple of jerseys and put them up there? That would look really cool. And it came out really nice. And if you look at like the bottoms of the frames, like on the middle one, you see all the different RAGBRAI luggage tags that we have. Cool. On the Bragg, I've got the keychains and the luggage.
Nice.
The luggage things. And then on my one from Bourbon Country Burn, I've got our numbers. And I actually even threw in the Buffalo Trace visitor wrist thing. And so I thought, you know what, that would be a nice way to showcase that. So I was pretty excited when I finally got it done.
I love it all except for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, but we're going to leave that alone. I mean, I know that's where you went to school, and I see the bottle of Blanton's there. Right? Yeah, there's nuts in the center. I like that.
Bottle of Blanton's, and got several things up there. So that is the extension of my
collection.
My bar in the other room. So
no. It's not a collection
because I will go up there and drink any of those. So
okay, okay. I like it, man. What are the wooden boxes below? Are those?
Those are just miscellaneous wooden boxes I have. There's an old military footlocker and an ammunition box, some old wine boxes, things like that I've just got some of my other collections that do not fit on my shelves over here. So I just have them organized down there.
If I am Scott Garwick or I am Armando, who I know for a fact both of those gentlemen prefer to watch us on the show, will I be seeing this as a background, or will I be seeing the cameras as a background?
Well, I've got another camera that I can't switch to right now because we're in the middle of recording.
Okay.
Because I haven't got the switcher put together yet. But with that camera, you'll be able to see this and my camera collection over here, I think. So you'll get like some of this and my cameras in the background. So that's my goal.
You mean like this if I switch here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or here?
But see, I can't do that with what I've got going on right now.
As a genuine friend, as a genuine Michigander, I gave you a video switcher, and so that'll be we get that set up for you.
I just need to get it set up. So
I'll help you. That's all right.
So then I could, have that and have this, but with the one camera without the switcher, I'll be able to get the cameras in the background, the decanters, my bar, and my jerseys. So
then you can do this, or you can have 2.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Like they need 2 of me.
No, so. They don't need 2 of me either. That's why I switched it back pretty fast. So, well, that's cool, man. I really like your project. I like how it came together. It looks classy. It definitely looks nice. And let's talk about, just for a second, the center jersey there, which was the Team Sherpa. So, Team Sherpa was obviously honoring your father and your team that you had as a family, and then we picked that up for a while, and we definitely kept the name strong because, as we talked about, we've we've finited our packing, but in the beginning, we definitely kept the Sherpa proud. We needed a Sherpa with all the stuff. Well, at least I did, with all the stuff I brought. And you talked about the stock symbols, and because if no one knows, our friendship started that day that you helped me in 2016 at Ragbri when I didn't think I was going to make my journey of my first century. Yep. You were just picking things to talk about, and you said, what are you into or whatever? And you, just out of a random question, you said, are you into investing at all? And I said, yeah. And that's pretty much what finished our ride. And so
talked about that, for like the last 50 miles or something.
That was pretty cool. And then, although hold on to okay, never mind. This is different place, different show. But what we did is we were designing our own jerseys before we had some help designing it. And so we went to a company, and we there's three stocks that we always talk about. Dollar General is a long time running joke. Although, yeah.
We've already talked about that one on past shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Starbucks is because I'm a Starbucks junkie. And then let's see. Oh, Casey's. Which, by the way, I would like to officially thank your wife. And I'm going to tell you why. We were on our way, the first time I came to visit your family, we were on our way to a restaurant in Missouri. To be fair, you live in Kansas, but there was a restaurant across the border. And on the way there, she said, I wonder if Casey's would be a good thing to invest in. Mm-hmm. And so just for blanks and giggles, I got my button back. Just for and giggles, I started throwing some money. Let me just say, I need to thank your wife right here officially. It's been a phenomenal investment. So thank you, Chastity. I appreciate that.
She occasionally gets lucky every once in a while. But I've got some too. It's done well for me, so I can't complain.
No. I like it. I like your background. Nice job.
Thank you.
Well, with that being said, should we move into what everyone looks forward to and guesses?
Let's do it.
Listener Spotlight.
Are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. The area was initially explored by a French-Canadian trapper. It was founded in the mid-1850s.
Okay.
The area where the town is located had no permanent Native American settlers when the Europeans arrived. The first settlement was created by a religious group. Irrigation was the early settlers' first big job. So that ought to give you some hints. And remember that bus drivers are required to stop and open the door to check for trains? This town has something to do with that.
Okay.
Any guesses?
I am intrigued. I had actually told you off the record that I thought it was something to do with New Mexico. I went back to my trainer and asked her because we have a video where the buses are, and yeah, I don't think they don't ever make a mention. I just think the background of the video images, I must have, like one of those things where you remember something from something. Based upon how they shot the video and where they shot the video, that's where I got the New Mexico. So I don't think it's New Mexico. I don't have a guess.
Okay. Well, it's not New Mexico. It's close. Very close. The listener spotlight community for this episode is South Jordan, Utah.
Oh, okay. Jordan.
Yep. Founded in the 1850s by a French-Canadian trapper with the last name of Provost. The first settlement was created by a religious group, which was the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay.
Obviously, being in Utah, irrigation was their first major job that they had to work on before they could really have, any kind of farming or stuff there. And that bus driver requirement, as far as opening the door, that's because on December 1st of 1938, there was the worst bus crash in the U.S. history there. A train hit a bus. and it led to the federal law, which mandates that buses are required to stop and check.
On behalf of Adam
and Michael,
we both want to say thank you
for your support.
Yes, for sure. And I told you, I think it was not recording, that it's confusing for some of my drivers because we have multiple modes of transportation. We have minivans. We have what they call a transit van, which is like if you watched American Pickers, that size vehicle where they drove around and, got that. Those don't have to stop, but it's definitely, if it is designated as a bus, as the transportation expert on this show, yes, sir, must stop. Funny story about that. And then we will go back. So I had my grandfather when he was still alive. He made it to 1 week shy 99. So what a life. I was on the phone and I used to drive the bus, but I had him in the car and I was taking him to an appointment. And I got to the tracks, and just because of memory, I was in a minivan.
No.
And I stopped at the tracks and he goes, "Waiting for a train?" I said, "No, you know what? I'm sorry.
Just making sure one's not coming. That's all.
Right. That's right." But, well, listen, I really appreciate all of our listeners. Utah, huh? Nice. But
South
no
Jordan,
Wyoming.
Utah, population 77,487. So thank you for listening from South Jordan, Utah.
Well, that's amazing. I did miss one, and I just realized it from our listener community. Keith and Melanie said that their son lives in Wyoming, and if he doesn't listen in May, Michael, they are going to visit him.
Will I get my Wyoming listener?
But Keith says that you're going to get in May. Now, if you don't know this, Keith and Melanie, my DeBrim fellow friends, he's been...
Try not to hold that against him.
Hey. They're good people. He is retrofitting a van as like a, van life or maybe a vacation van. He's putting cabinetry and beds and sinks, and they're retrofitting. So I think that might be one of their van trips out to Wyoming.
So they're creating a Euro van, so to speak. That's what they kind of call it in Europe, a Euro van. I mean, it's got, like you live in it, gotcha. It's got places to sleep, and it's got, a small little kitchen area in there and things like that. Yeah.
And the bikes are on there. So I think they're looking to travel with it. So, but in May, which is about 2 months away, you're gonna get your Wyoming listener.
Oh, finally. Oh. That Wyoming has just vexed me. It's like, come on, somebody in Wyoming rides bikes. You want to listen, but oh well, we'll get there sometime. But I appreciate that.
So you're driving the show today, buddy. You said you had some things.
I do. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to bring up, I know our community has heard us talk several times that we've spent a week or two in Florida this year.
Mm-hmm.
Golfing, me working, you golfing, us both golfing, us eating, and us having some drinks. And I thought it might be interesting. We came across some very interesting drinks.
We did.
And I thought we'd talk a little bit about that.
I'm in.
Lots of flames were involved in some of these drinks. So that was kind of cool. So the first one on my list I thought we'd talk about is your burnt orange.
Yes.
From, I think it was called Blue Zoo.
Todd English's Blue Zoo.
Okay. And that's in the Swan and...
I think it was in the Dolphin Resort, but could have been in the Swan Resort. I could look
Dolphin.
it up.
Well, they're both together there, but yeah. Swans in front, dolphins in the back, but it's in the like the first floor of that. Neither of us had ever eaten there before, but they had a drink called a burnt orange that you partook in.
It was a tequila based drink, and it was what intrigued me is it said it comes to you on fire, and I was like, well, I mean, what could go wrong with setting something on fire? I'm all in, baby.
Carting it through a dining room. Hey, why not?
and definitely came to the table on fire. I think it was a candied orange with a little liqueur on top. That's why they were able to set it on fire.
Yeah, what it had is it had silver tequila infused with oranges, and they had combined that with guava, Grand Marnier, orange juice, and then they topped it with that flaming orange.
Okay.
So it comes to you, and they set it in front of you, and this orange is like producing flame.
And at first, I thought that the flame was just going to be like the get you marketing to get you to buy it. But I will tell you that after the flame went out, it actually helped add a very distinct flavor to the cocktail. And so, not only was it neat to have something come to your table on fire, that's always fun, but it gave it a distinct flavor. And so it was a very enjoyable cocktail.
Oh, cool. No, it looked very fun. I'm glad that the flaming orange actually added something to it and wasn't just for presentation purposes. That's kind of neat as well. The food was very good there, so I was very happy. And I gotta say, he came around, which I'm surprised you didn't hop in with this story, but he came around and was like, "Would you guys like dessert?" And he gave us, and I said, "Sure, let's see what you got." And none of it looked very good. But a little girl behind us had been had this big old thing of ice cream. And I was like, "Do you have any ice cream?" And it's like, "Yeah, we've got some ice cream on the kids menu." And I was like, "Bring me that." Well, what I didn't realize, it wasn't just like a bowl of ice cream. It had like an ice cream cone stuck in, and it like looked like, I don't know, a unicorn or something. And it had all these, like, when you busted into the cone, there was all this candy that flooded out. I just wanted the ice cream, but I wound up buying the dessert off the kids menu, and it was quite humorous when it came to my table.
You had a dessert and a piñata all mixed in one.
It was interesting. And there was a family with two kids sitting next to me, and both those kids were like looking at me, and I think the parents were kind of like, what's wrong with this guy? But the other desserts, none of them looked that good, and I was feeling like ice cream, so I got ice cream.
I was hoping that they would think that you were special and we'd get a discount, but we didn't. So.
Not special in any kind of way that matters, let me tell you.
No.
Okay. So we had that one. The other one that was really cool, I thought, was from the Delilah Lounge, which we've both eaten at. It's right next to the, what is it, Topolino's? No, Toledo.
The Toledo
right next
bar.
to Toledo, which is at the top restaurant at the top of
the Coronado Springs Tower.
There you go, at Disney World. And there's a lounge right outside, and we were waiting for our table. And so they give you a list. It's really quite cool. And you get to choose your whiskey, your simple syrup, and your bitter. And they've got, from like the whiskeys, you get Elijah Craig and Bullet or Buffalo Trace or Jim Beam Black, things like that, Maker's Mark. And then you get to choose your simple syrups, which is anything from just like regular simple syrup, the classic, to maple, orange, saffron, blueberry, or vanilla. And then you even get to go far enough to get your bitters.
Hey, Adam, I need a Coke.
Sounds good. We'll be back after a quick break. Well, you can't go wrong with bitters. The interesting thing about that is Armando was with us. Armando came out to join us that night, and he was participating in Dry January. And so I normally wouldn't sell him out, but I kept making jokes. I'm like, well, what about dry vermouth? What about a dry wine? What about... And he stood strong, and so he did not participate in the create your own old fashioned. Now I am disappointed in my selection. Not that it wasn't good. I chose the orange saffron. I was on a kick of like orange bitter drinks, and so cocktails that you would use orange bitters in. And so I was like, oh man, that's amazing.
Really?
I'm gonna get the orange bitters, and then I think the simple syrup there was an orange simple syrup, and so I got both of those. And to be honest, it was just my choosing. It's my own fault, but it was too sweet. It wasn't like an old fashioned. It was more like I don't know, like an orange juice, loaded orange juice is what the best way I can say it. So I would definitely do it different. But the fact that you could choose your own was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think my simple syrup was the blueberry, and I chose the Mexican chocolate on my bitters because they had like regular bitters, orange bitters, smoked chili, which would have been interesting, Mexican chocolate, and apple blossom. So mine was interesting because I kind of had that blueberry, and then I had the chocolatey flavor. So yeah, it was a good drink.
Which reminds me, and I hope I'm not, since we didn't talk about this before recording, where was it that we had the tobacco bitters drink? Was that Toledo? No, I mean Edison.
No.
Oh, that was. Oh, you know where that was? That was the basement speakeasy. What the
Enzio's.
Yeah, Enzo's. Yes.
Or Enzo's, yeah.
Yeah.
Enzo's, yeah, they had an old fashioned that had a tobacco bitters.
Yeah.
Which was, you could taste a little bit of that tobacco-y flavor, which was very, very good, I thought.
What's funny is we totally screwed up that night. I mean, can you really screw up by having cocktails? Probably not. But we went to Enzo's and we started there and we had this delicious old fashioned. I mean, it was a classy cocktail. And then because it was, what do you call it? Between 3 and 6, happy hour. It was happy hour, we went over to Edison at Disney Springs, and they had a Four Roses old fashioned. It was like $8. I'm like, $8? I'm going to have that because where else can you get a cocktail at Disney World for $8?
$8.
But because we had such the high end cocktail, we went
the wrong way.
Yeah, we went the wrong way for sure.
Need to start with the cheap cocktail and then go to the higher
That's
end.
Right.
But
oh well,
yeah, it was still good. But you mentioned the Edison. I'd like to talk a little bit about that. The Edison, if you've never been there, is very 1920s steamer punk. They play in the background. They're playing like 1920s. Basically, they're playing modern music done to like a 1920s swing. So they'll have like modern songs in the 1920s swing version, or
Yeah, it's like going to a wedding and then the DJ plays piano versions of like AC/DC, Back in Black.
Exactly.
Same thing.
And it's kind of got a steamer punk industrial look. It's really fun. You and I have been there dozens of times. But they've got some really good, they do a really good smoked old fashioned. One of the really interesting drinks or things that you can do there is their whistle pig flight. You can do a flight of whistle pig, which has the 6, the 10, and the 12 year on there. So that's kind of interesting. But what I really like, and I didn't know it until this time around because we saw a guy and we asked him about it, is they have a secret drink program. And it's called High Rollers Cocktails. And these cocktails are in the book, but they're always in the back, and I never had gotten to that. They're expensive, but every single one that you get a coin.
Oh, God,
and it
here
says
we
you're
go.
a high. Just because, according to the Edison, I am, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, if you can see it, if you're watching us right here, according to the Edison, I am a high roller. Yes. It says it right there, back of the coin, high roller.
No, it's
you're
actually
jealous.
pretty cool.
You're jealous, so
I think it's pretty cool, and the concept is each one of those cocktails you get the high roller coin. Now, if you get one, you could have it as a collector piece and little souvenir, knick-knack, paddywhack. But if you get 4 of those high roller coins right there, my friend, then you could trade it for one of the high roller drinks.
That's right. So I went ahead and splurged and got a high roller drink. I keep my high roller coin right up there to remind Adam that he is not, according to the Edison, a high roller, but that's okay.
Do you ever bust that out when when your daughter comes in? Maya, I am a high roller.
I'm thinking about putting a hole through it and sticking it right here on my necklace. So it's like, look, right here, high roller. I might just do that. But They had a number of different drinks, and they were very interesting, but they had one that I had to try, and it was called Fire in Vermont. And literally, they light the bar on fire.
That's true.
And what this has Whistle Pig 10-year rye in it. It's got vermouth. It's got cherry brandy. It's got Bogart's bitters, and then it's got flame kissed caramelized absinthe wash. And they bring it out, and there's this whole presentation, and the bar's flaming and all this kind of stuff. So I had been looking at it, and finally I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. So I don't remember what our waitress or what our server's name was, but I tell you what, I said, let's burn the bar. And so she got all the stuff and lit it up. And of course, everybody's gathering around watching, the flames come off the bar and things like that. So it was a really fun drink, really interesting program. And I just wanted to share it with everybody that we had a good time.
It must be fun for those bartenders to make those cocktails, because when you were talking about it, she overheard us talking, and she said, if you order it, let me make it. And I think they must enjoy doing that, because there's a brass tray. If you go there, you'll see it, but there's a brass tray. Copper. Oh, thank you. Yep, copper. It's about 6-inch channel where they put all the booze they're going to burn in there. Or is it the absence that they burn? I don't know. I can't lie. I don't know. Whatever the residual of the, and then they put some sort of salt or sugar in there, so it actually sparks up even more. And yes, you have some photographs of them lighting it on fire. So, now I do have a question about that.
Yeah.
Being the history guy that you are, was there some sort of instrumental fire in Vermont that was there anything that can come to mind? Why would the drink be called Fire in Vermont? Any idea with that, or?
That I do not know. That's an interesting question. I'm
going to search while you're talking. So
yeah, I was trying to look at the ingredients to see if anything here jumped out that would be, hooked to Vermont. It might have to do with the absence, but I don't know. So, but that's a good question. But we encountered a lot of great drinks. We had a lot of different flavors, combinations in our old fashions that we tried, and we tried some other things that obviously weren't old fashions, but it was definitely a leisuring experience that I wanted to make sure that we share. So.
Hey, Michael, I need a coffee.
Okay, we'll be back right after this message.
Nothing that comes up real quick on Google, but maybe there's something I'm missing, or
maybe I will do some investigation and find out why they call it Fire in Vermont.
all else fails. Hello, thanks for calling the Edison.
I have a really weird question. Can I speak with your bar manager, please, or someone at the bar?
Okay. Well, I just figured, you usually have a lot of interesting facts about things that have happened in this great country, and I didn't know if you knew, so I apologize.
It's a good question. And like I said, I went down through through what was in it, thinking that maybe one of the components was, kind of a Vermont, product or something, but no. So I will see what I can find out on that. All right. Enough talk about that. Let's see what else. You said something about cruises.
Yeah.
You're going on one.
Yeah, I'm going on one, but I just got a question for you. And you and I have never spoke about this. And I said, you know what? I'm going to save it for the show.
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Is the Sharp family, when you cruise, do you do excursions through the cruise ship, or do you like to explore when you get to the islands? It seems like when my wife and I went on our first cruise together, you're planning at home and you're dreaming and you're like, oh, this cruise is, we're going to go to, I don't know, St. Martin. We're going to go to St. Martin. Oh, let's go out to where the planes land, right near the beach. And then you could, get on a bus and take the excursion. And it got me thinking, because my wife and I are getting ready for ours, and we're going with my golf partner of 22 years, and good friend, and so the four of us are going. It got me thinking, do you guys do excursions?
We do excursions
Gotcha.
because, I mean, you basically have three choices. For those of you that don't cruise, you can do an excursion that's sponsored by the cruise ship, which they generally have, a dozen or more different things you can do, and it's sponsored by the cruise ship or it's done through the cruise ship. So it's very organized. When you get off the cruise ship, they'll tell you exactly where to go, and then people come and meet you. And you can do an excursion on your own. You can just, do an internet search, say, oh, that looks like fun. The cruise ship isn't offering something like that, and do it that way, which means that you have to do a lot of the legwork. You have to go through the company, do your reservations, and then when you get there, you have to get to the company or wherever they're doing the excursion from and things like that. Or the third option is you just stay on the boat. And I've always had a problem. It's like, I'm not the type of person that I just want to stay on the boat. I mean, we can get off. We can see something I've never seen before. I want to go explore. But I know a lot of people who have maybe been to, Martinique or Cozumel or whatever dozens of times are like, you know what? Let everybody else get off the boat. And we're going to go hang out down at the pool because there's going to be like nobody there. We can sit right at the bar. We can get great things like that. So there is some advantages to not doing an excursion and let everybody else go out, do their shopping, do their excursion, and you get a lot of the boat to yourself or to a very small group of people. Sharp Family has always done excursions. We do excursions through the boat. And we've got, some younger people with us. So it's one of those things where if you do the excursion through the boat, generally you just get off the boat and there's somebody there to meet you and say, hey, everybody, we're doing this excursion. Come over here. They load you into a mini bus, and then they take you to wherever you're going to do the excursion. So it makes it very simple from the dad point of view and me when I'm looking out for, three other people. And we've done it with her family before where there was even more. It's just easier because it's like, okay, we're right here. Let's just follow. The other advantage to doing the excursions through the ship is if, say, you go and you're delayed some reason, there's a big traffic jam or something like that, and you're through the ship will make arrangements to wait for you because it's their excursion.
Right.
If you're on your own, if I'm like, I'm going to go out and see, do goat yoga on the other side of the island, and I don't make it back in time, I can call the ship or whatever, but they're going to say, well, we sail at this time. Right. There is no waiting. I'm on my own. And if I miss a ship, guess what? I have to make arrangements to meet the ship at the next port, whether it be a boat, a plane, whatever it might be. That's all on me. But if I do an excursion through them, I don't have that hassle. So that's kind of a peace of mind, for me.
Have you ever seen those YouTube videos where people are running down the dock?
What are you talking about? I typically, when we do cruises, we get ones that have balconies,
so we can watch people.
I love it. So we're the people out there on the balcony, sitting there like screaming at them, "Come on, you can make it!
You can make it!"
And they're like, chugging along with bags of whatever they've bought and all this kind of stuff, and they're hustling along because this fear is going through them. It's like, oh my God, my boat's right there. They could close that door at any time,
right?
And there's just everybody's lined out on the balconies yelling it for them and tell them you can make it. And you kind of feel like you're at the Olympics or something, Olympic tryouts. Come on, you can do it.
Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Sorry. Yeah, I was just curious what you do. I mean, you and I have never talked about that before. So since we are encompassing all things leisure, I figured I would save it for the show. So
what do you do?
I like excursions through the ship. On this particular boat, the first 3 days are days at sea. We're going to take out of Fort Lauderdale, and then we're going to go to St. Kitts is our first island. And then by the time I get to St. Kitts, I'm going to be happy to get off that boat. But I know what you're talking about. Some people were like, you know what? We're not getting off the boat. We've been to St. Kitts 14 times in the last 18 cruises or whatever. And then they're going to be like, well, when you're all off the boat, then we can get the flow rider to ourselves and we can get the rock climbing wall and not have to wait.
Exactly.
I know what you're talking about. But by the time I get there, I mean, it's not like every day I'm going to St. Kitts. I mean, like today I went hiking in the snow. So the idea is if I can be somewhere in the Caribbean and now they do have certain recommendations where, you shouldn't stay too far off, like Cozumel. You mentioned Cozumel. We're not going to Cozumel on this trip, but I've been there, and they don't recommend getting off the beaten path, and they recommend staying in pairs and staying together, and
Oh, yeah.
But I was just curious. I agree with you. There's a comfort level for me that if I go out and I go down to the Aqua Theater or the theater, and they say, oh, "Okay, here's your sticker," and you're looking for bus 12, and then if bus 12 breaks down, they're going to bring me bus 38 to get me back. So that there's a comfort level for me where I like St. Kitts, but I don't want to stay there. So
Well, honestly, there's times that if it was just me or maybe myself and my wife, I would, maybe consider some other activities that weren't directly there, just because it's like, you know what, if something happened and we missed the ship, it's going to be a disruption, but we can make it work. But when you add kids in there, then you've got that extra layer of, they're not as accepting of whatever situation you get thrown into.
right.
So, and I mean, kids
Yeah,
just,
I've got coworkers.
why aren't we back on the
who-
ship, and why do we got to wait for this and do, so.
I've got coworkers who truly believe that you could do it cheaper, and I'm always like, you could, but now use that that St. Martin Airport. I know it's a huge draw. You see all everyone going with a 747 is 14 inches off your head, by the beach, and or people are getting stuff blown away because the jets fire up to take off. If you take a taxi out there and there's no taxi to take you back, I hope you got your credit card.
Yeah,
and
you're still waiting for the Uber.
Yeah,
Oops.
your passport and everything else. So yeah, it's an interesting conversation. What about the drink package? Are you guys people who get the drink package when you go? If you go on a cruise line that offers it, like when I went on Disney, they didn't offer a drink package. So
Right.
they offered classes where you could learn about whiskey and taste different things.
And I most of the time, if they offer like a whiskey tasting class or something like that, I take it because I enjoy it, and I never know what they're going to bring to the table. And every time, typically, they find something that I'm not that familiar with, and I can learn about it. So I really enjoy those, whiskey and tequila classes, just to number one, maybe find something I didn't know.
Yeah.
Or it's also fun because now you're in a room full of people who really like whiskey or are interested in whiskey, and you can have some good conversations. And you can meet some people you'll see later on the ship. So that's always a good time. But so I always do that. As far as the package, I do not think we've ever done the drink package. Now I know my wife goes on cruises with like her girlfriends, and they'll do that. But honestly, I mean, you've really got to just be serious about drinking to really, because there's so many drinks that they put in front of you that you can drink each day and all that kind of stuff, that I'm like, I'm not one of those people that I'm just like completely boozed up when I'm on the ship. I like a couple drinks throughout the day, but I'm not drinking that much where the drink package really helps me. A lot of times she gets it because if you're in a cabin on a lot of ships with other people who have the drink package, you need to get the drink package too or whatever. But I don't care that she gets a drink package. I just don't drink enough for it to really make sense. And when I do drink, typically I'm drinking, I want to have top shelf stuff, not to sound like a snob, but I'm wanting to have the higher end stuff. A lot of times it's not included in the drink
vacation.
package. So.
I mean, you deserve it. I mean, you work hard. You got a long commute. Just kidding. But
plus, there's things on the cruise ship that you can find that are not easy to find here at home.
Yeah.
And most of the time they're because they've gotten, their allocated liquors and stuff at such good prices, they're not charging you some hugely inflated, price for the drink. So it's generally relatively affordable for their higher end stuff. And so that's generally the way I go.
And plus, you don't drink coffee, and so I'm not throwing you under the bus. You just don't enjoy coffee.
I don't.
So
yeah,
and so I'm going on Royal, and they've kind of pretty much made it where you either buy some sort of package. What I mean by some sort of is they offer like a soda package if you want soda. They offer a coffee card if you want so many coffees, and then the drink package says you can have it all. And so for us, we do it because not just it's not just for the alcohol. You know, I work out in the morning, and then I can go get my premium coffee, and then they give bottles of water, and so I mean you have to work the system to make sure you're getting your money's worth.
Oh, sure.
I actually have an Excel spreadsheet, which I'm sure you're not surprised at at all. But I've got an Excel spreadsheet that says, okay, if you, because I can, you know, the way those boats work is it's not just like one price today and that's it. They offer so many different prices between the cruises. A game you got to play. You can buy in here, but then if you can find it cheaper, then you just call up. They'll keep giving your money back. I always find it a way for Royal to make money off my money because then eventually they'll be cheaper. But I've got a thing where it says if you pay this with the gratuities, and if you get 8 premium coffees and 2 bottles of water a day and everything else, I mean, you really have to make it work. Now,
Oh, yeah.
saying that, I have some friends who went on a cruise, bought the drink package, and unfortunately, like on the second day, they tested positive for the influenza, and they said they were quarantined to their room for 3 days. I'm going to say 3 days, maybe 2.5 days.
Ugh.
So those were 3 days that there was no. First of all, they felt like complete Minerda, but then there were 3 days there where you were not buying, getting your coffees, drinks, or whatever.
Well,
And
couldn't you do room service?
could have done room service, yeah, but I don't think he even felt like drinking.
Oh,
He was
okay.
completely down and out. But
It's always a gamble.
yeah,
And I do think on some of our cruises, I know like Disney, you get like the free ice cream and you get free
Yeah.
soda and things. But I think on the other cruises that we've went on, I think we may have gotten like the soda package.
yeah,
But as far as the liquor, no. Although I will say, cruises are great, especially with kids, because then it's like one of those things. It's like if Chas and I want to go out and do something later in the evening, the kids can easily stay in the cabin by themselves, and you've got
Right.
TV and they've got their electronics and all this kind of stuff. And the first time we went, we said, hey, you know what? If you guys get hungry, you guys can call room service, because room service,
included.
exactly. And they were like,
I
really?
imagine as a
how does
parent,
that-
it's a godsend.
Oh yeah. It's like, well, how does that work? And we explained, well, you call this number and you can, here's the menu. You can order whatever you want to. They'll
Right.
bring it to your thing. We left them some cash. So it's like you tip them, and we explained how the tipping thing worked. And oh my God, they thought that was the coolest thing ever. It's like, I could just pick up the phone and food shows up at my door 10 minutes later. This is awesome. So the kids, couple nights did not mind hanging out because they could get their ice cream or their hamburgers or whatever snacks they wanted. And then I do have to say, my son Max, whom you're very familiar with, loves hamburgers. That's his thing. And we went and they had Guy Fiero's like hamburger place.
Oh yeah,
And they ask when you're going through, do you want a single burger or double burger? And of course, it's all included in what you've already paid.
right.
And he's like, really? They're gonna. And the first time he's like, can I get a double burger? And it's like, well, yeah. My only rule is if you're gonna take it, eat it.
Right.
So yeah, if you want a double burger, get a double burger. Oh my God, he thought that was the greatest thing. And so by the end of the week, he was like eating, 3-burger hamburgers, and so he
Hey,
just thought that was the greatest
Atkins
thing.
diet. Just don't eat
That's
the
right.
buns.
Just eat young, he can get away with that. But
I
yeah,
was just curious. I figured I would since we are recording a little bit early, and the whole purpose is, I started thinking about it, like, I never talked to Michael about that. So
yeah. One thing I did want to bring up,
yes,
we've
sir.
got an exciting interview coming up.
We do. It's Shane Cusick from Bike Virginia. I don't want to give a lot of it away. We have already recorded it. It'll be our next show. All I want to say is Shane did a great job. The information that he passed on about he builds bikes for children, and he talked about Bike Virginia and the direction, and that's really all I want to say. I just wanted to tease that. So
yeah, it's a good interview. He was a really good interviewee. We talked about his bike company. We talked about what Cycling Virginia is doing, because they're making some changes to kind of address the changes that are going on in the industry. And it was a really good one. Now, it is a little long, I will say that. But I also have to remind people that, Adam and I like to be as organic as possible. And when interviews go, we just like to go with it. And we also don't like to edit out a bunch of stuff.
Mm-mm.
And I know a lot of shows will edit it because we want the interview to be 20 minutes. So we'll edit out a bunch of stuff. We just like to keep it flowing. Some people don't like that, but we've got a lot of feedback from people that just says, we really like it because you guys are kind of honest and you're transparent and you're just very organic. And, what you see is what you get. So it is going to be a longer episode, but it's got some really interesting components to it. So
full transparency, I watched the interview so I could look at it again. And, I thought before watching it, well, maybe there might be a segment, since it is long, that maybe I could maybe omit or cut down or something. And honestly, I don't think it's worth cutting it down. I think it's worth for our community to hear the whole thing. And there's the way the direction of the interview goes. So I'm excited about it. So we had Jimmy and Dave on from Padre Cycling In, and then
we didn't edit any of that either. So
no. And so now Shane, will be next, and the direction of those guys are going. In full transparency, I had to thank Franklin for that, because Franklin Johnson told me to reach out to him and thought it would be a good interview. So Franklin, thank you so much. And so Franklin, next episode, 2 weeks, buddy, 2 weeks, because of you. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Thank you so much.
Yep. And I think that's probably all I've had. So
I think that's it. I mean, I'm going to give obviously our guests and our leisure community want the next
listener spotlight.
All right. Well, I've got a good one.
Okay.
This community was named for a Confederate general. The railroad laid this city out in the late 1800s, but it was not incorporated until the early 1900s. The railroad was built through the area in the 1880s and really helped spur on the development of the community. The first industry was lumber up until World War II, and then really beginning somewhere at the middle of World War II, cotton became the major source of industry in the area.
I almost said St. Louis, but once you mentioned cotton, St. Louis. Not St. Louis.
Probably not St. Louis. In the 21st century, this town was devastated by a tornado. Heavily devastated. We're not talking just touchdown. We're talking major devastation. My final clue will be that this town was affected by a major earthquake in 1911. Major earthquake in 1911. And if you understand major earthquakes in that year, around that time frame, that will certainly limit your area. The final thing I'll say is that this is not the smallest community we have highlighted, but it is awful close.
Okay. Well, all right. I was just trying to think real quick, a small community. Because I get the same data as you. I was looking, so.
All right. Well, you got some time to think about that one, so.
So I must thank Alex, Dennis, and Scott. They are our monthly subscribers. And by the way, Scott, it did not go unnoticed that you have increased your contribution. So, Scott, I want to thank you and your wife. I
Thank
have
you.
tried this whole interview not to tell Michael that not one person has said called out sick. Everyone has written me and said that it's call in sick.
I have done some research now, and both are grammatically correct or correct according to the English language. What I've also found out, it tends to be a regional thing.
Okay, that makes sense. Because if it's one area, if somebody, does it for their
calling out tends to be in the Northeast.
Northeast.
Yes.
Okay.
The Northeast, Vermont, Maine, New York, those type of areas.
Which makes sense because you spent some time in that area. So that makes logical sense that you would say that from having that. And by the way, to anyone listening, it wasn't an argument. We literally were just having a discussion, and I was talking about the law, which did pass, by the way. And they worked until like 5 a.m, and then the governor signed it on February 21st. So it was going to be controversial. They were going to push it back, and then so now, if you live in the state of Michigan, every 30 hours you work, you get 1 hour sick time. Unless you have 10 employees or less, and then there's a little bit of a difference. But so I think that they have to provide 40 hours to their employees at that time. But if you have 10 or I guess 11 more employees, then it's every 30 hours work, no matter if you're temporary, part-time, whatever you get. But they also adjusted the wage for waiters and waitresses, where in the state of Michigan, it used to be like $2.75 an hour, and you worked off of tips. And so they've increased that wage. And then I think there's a mixed reaction. Now, to be honest, I was never a waiter. I wasn't a waitress either, but no, I'm just kidding.
They call them servers now, but that's
servers. Okay.
Servers.
I was never a server. But I think there's a mixed reaction because now what people are concerned about is the general public will think, hey, these guys are making more money. I don't have to tip them as much. And so I think there's a mixed reaction of whether people like this law or not. But when you and I were discussing the law, it wasn't an argument. I just said, call it. I mean, I said, as management, I never call in sick anyway. And you said, you mean call out sick? And I was like, yeah, I say call, and that's how it started. So it wasn't an argument, but
no. The good news is, if you're in Michigan or any other state, you can call out sick. That's all I'm saying. You can call out sick. You don't have to call in sick. You can call out sick.
Is it like calling out, like I'm calling out sick? I was like, I'm going to call it. And I'm
calling, out sick. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Well, if you pay attention to our social, and I know you do. Unfortunately, on that one, you haven't won. But
well, you know what? These are probably the same people who wear Debrims and eat ketchup or don't eat ketchup on their hot dogs.
Wow. Okay, now you jumped me because I insulted some of our listeners in Ohio. You literally just took a core basis of our...
No, there's nothing wrong with them. I'm just saying there's this group of people who probably fit within that.
To be fair, for all of the Ohio listeners, it's a rivalry. It's a joke. But I want to thank Scott and Sue, not only for his increased contribution, but I really appreciate the camaraderie and the funny pictures in Strava about they're riding in Georgia and they stopped at a hot dog stand and Scott threw his wife under the bus and said, "Look what she put on her hot dog." And so it was... She definitely he took some pictures, and her hot dog is loaded with ketchup. And you said to him, well, if you want a salad on your hot dog.
No, I just, there's a thing, I'm right. I'm sorry you're not. I don't hold it against you or anything, but
I'm so happy to have my toys back. So. Listen.
So I'm going to call out sick tomorrow. I'm going to eat ketchup on my hot dog, and I'm not wearing a Debrim. How about that?
What's your boss's name? I'm just kidding. Listen, I appreciate the jokes and the humor and the banter. I appreciate all of you who are not only watching but listening and taking the time to write us. And if you have any questions about anything, let us know. Until next time. Again, here in Michigan, I can tell you what it wasn't today. A great day to ride a bicycle.
That's true. But it was somewhere, so.
And we promised each other that we were going to remind our listeners something, and we failed on the last show.
Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Michael and myself, we have some advice for you. It is always good to travel with an extra derailleur hanger. Always. So
please do. We always find people that are searching for them and can never find them.
And if you're confused about that, the derailleur hanger is on the back of the bicycle and holds your rear gear set. And if the bicycle falls over and that little piece of metal that's, about 1.5 inches with a special hook on it that holds your derailleur, which if you're not familiar on your bicycle, that helps the shift in the back from the little gear to the big gear in the back. You can find all kinds of parts, but Michael can tell you himself, because he tried to get his own. He has it now, but tell him how hard.
Yeah, every bike company has a different style, and a lot of models within the same one have different styles and arrangements of this derailleur. I went to my local bicycle shop and had a very difficult time finding it, and finally my bicycle shop sent me online to find it.
Yeah.
And this is a major bicycle. Well, I won't get into names or anything, but it's a major bicycle.
It's not Trek.
You're right. It's not Trek, but it's a major bicycle company, and they do servicing and all that. They weren't even able to get me one. So needless to say, we've both seen it. Adam, you're out on a ride and that breaks. And we have seen more than once people like hitting, even in like Ragbri, hitting all of the mechanics. And none of the mechanics had one that would fit their bike. And they're sending out message saying, does anybody have one that will fit this? And that kind of thing. So for, $25, $30, I say get one. They're little, they're not very big. Stick it in your bike and you've got one. So just in case that breaks, you can take it to the mechanic and say, I brought my own.
And I will leave with this. In Ragbri 2024, you and I stayed home. We did not go to Ragbri that year because we did Shoreline.
Mm-hmm.
We were watching the social media from Ragbri as they took off, and that woman, literally, you and I had just done a show the day before about traveling with your bicycle, and we said if she would just listen to our show, because she was desperate to find a derailleur. She said, please, I don't want my ride to end. Does anyone have one? I'm like, well, if you would have just listened to us. Yes. So before you're doing any major trip, before any traveling, before any big ride, go to your local bike shop, support local, and find yourself an extra derailleur hanger. On that note, sir, it's always wonderful to be with you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you for coming along with Adam and Michael on Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure. If you have enjoyed this, please subscribe to the show on the podcast app of your choice.
Hey, we just wanted to remind you that we've got some really cool products at our Jersey and our swag store.
That's right. You can visit cyclingmenofleisure.com. At the top of the page, you'll find our stores page. Click there. There's 2 QR codes. The one on the left has a J on it. That's the store for the jerseys. The one on the right is just a swag store. Has all kinds of different items. Kind of customizable. You can kind of make the swag the way you want it. If the QR codes are giving you an issue, don't worry. Underneath, there's 2 buttons that you can click on. Thank you, and have a great day.